twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor, and they try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, laying. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
All right, first to the floor, Jake Eisenberg. No Ben Vallis, as you can tell, because I immediately have done the wrong thing and done the wrong intro. So we're off to a good start. We're joined by Greeny, friend of the pod. I wish it was on better terms for your first show of the season.
I was trying to think if this is the first. I was trying to think back. Had I been on in the preseason, if this is the first one, I mean,
this is a bad sign.
What a way to break it open.
But, you know, we had the superstition continue through the playoffs of you coming on before. So, and I'm not wearing my lucky hat before the streams and the games because that's a playoff thing. So I don't think that we can do, like, because we have the title now, I think all of this stuff doesn't count until the playoffs. Unless, obviously, then we start winning, then it does count.
Well, listen, if they're about to rip off like 10 in a row, I mean, who am I to argue with, the basketball gods? So
exactly. Look in the chat. What up, everybody? Robert Williams. I was watching. Looking good earlier.
He just caught a lob. I think it was an and one. My heart.
Caught a lob. Caught a lob. Little like high post backdoor cut from Scoot from the wing. Like,
did you see his corner three a couple of days ago?
Of course, did I see his corner three? I've got alerts set. Anything Robert Williams. Anytime he records a statistic.
I just root for him, man. I just want him to be healthy, and he deserves it.
Absolutely, man. Just he's gonna be back on a veterans minimum in no time, and we're gonna
2.5 years,
roughly 2.5 years, hopefully, and hopefully no contenders trade for him, because I could even if the Sixers traded for him, I couldn't wish bad things on Rob Williams.
I mean, I tweeted it out. I mean, OKC that's a phone call you have to make. I mean, give him 2 first-round picks and call it a day. That seems like a no-brainer, but
that's a great call. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that is a no-brainer, and I can live with that as well. And then that's a terrifying trio between Hartenstein, Chet, and Rob Williams.
Look, I don't want it, but like for Rob,
for Rob,
into games that matter.
Absolutely. All right, we may as well talk about the game that the Boston Celtics played.
Is that what they did? Did they play? Is that what you would call it?
I mean, if we're ranking losses, I think that's easily the worst loss of the season.
Oh yeah.
Like the Warriors game, that was an excellent back and forth. Even the Pacers game, at least they had a stretch where they were awesome. I don't think that there was a stretch at any point in this game where they were awesome. They did build a 15-point lead, but even then, it didn't feel like it was a classic Celtics avalanche. It was just they were playing okay for a stretch, and then they the quickness, the haste that they used to let go of that rope to piss away that 15-point lead was impressive. There was not a stretch in this game where I was like, oh, here we go, we're on here.
I would say it was weird, right? Because it wasn't like the games where they started down 16-2, but you still didn't feel great about how they started. And then once they got through the half into the third quarter, they started to, I think, resemble an actual basketball team, a team that has played the sport before for about 6 or 7 minutes. And then I think Jaylen said it after the game. It's like they did the number one thing that pre-title Celtics used to do, and that's think a game is over when you throw a haymaker punch. And they should know by now, especially post-title, where everybody is giving them these games, that life doesn't exist anymore. And I think, this isn't to say they didn't blow 15-point leads last year. We saw them do that, but they did a lot of the same problem things that we saw tonight. Turnovers, lack of ball security, lack of rebounding, getting killed on the margins. Like everything that Even had a random dude hit 5 threes for the
That
most.
one
It
hurt.
was like every box that you check for the Celtics to have a loss like this, they checked. And you just eventually, they fucked around these last couple games and it didn't bite them. What we got today, is the norm. This is what happens when you play losing basketball. You don't somehow squeak out a 6 or 7 point win. You have an embarrassing home loss when you were 16.5 point favorites. I mean, that just shouldn't happen.
The basketball gods really showed themselves, it felt like, tonight, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
Celtics the Celtics did not deserve to win this game, and Jalen did like everything he could to bring it back, except for make 3 straight free throws.
Yeah.
But he did get to the line 10 times. He does the Indiana Pacers, gets the deflection on the inbounds, gives them another chance. Like he was awesome in this game. But like Tatum gives up the offensive rebound when they're up 4, which leads to the Larry Nance
I mean,
three.
I tweeted out the screenshot. Him and Jalen are right there, right? And it's like, as great as he was, you had the lazy, half-court turnover with Dyson Daniels in the fourth quarter. You had the missed free throws. I think the biggest basketball god evidence in this game was Tatum's corner 3 going
that
about
was
80% of the way down, and the offensive rebound up 4 that you mentioned, followed by a Larry Nance Jr. 5th 3 of the game, most he's ever made in his career. So it's like, this was them showing you, no, you did not respect the game of basketball today, and we do not reward teams that do not respect the game. And it's something they almost never did last year, but when they did, this is the result they got.
You almost forgot about the coup de grace, the Dyson Daniels missed floater and the go-ahead tip to win the game, which was an offensive rebound. I mean, like it was exactly. It's like, are they going to get away with it? And the gods were like, nope, in and out, offensive rebound. Larry Nance dagger into your heart. Right. So like, and
I looked it up because like they were giving up late fourth quarter. It's how they lost the Warriors game. You had the Looney offensive rebounds. It's how, the last 2 games were close. So I looked it up. The worst teams in the NBA at opponent offensive rebounds in the clutch are the Sixers and the Hornets at 2.3 a game. The Celtics are tied for 25th. So like, they're right there at the bottom because there's like 5 teams tied at 2 a game. So like essentially you're the worst defensive rebounding team in the clutch in the NBA. They gave up 4 offensive rebounds in the final 5:55 to lose this game. That's it. Like,
can't have it. Can't have it.
And the concerning part is, though, it's like, all right, you could shake it off. They're 9-3. All of their advanced metrics, everything's tracking like we saw last year. But the fact of the matter is they haven't really put 4 quarters together since the opener, and their late game defensive rebounding is the Achilles heel for every era of Celtic basketball. It's what we used to see against Miami in the Smart era. It's the shit that we saw, in their losses last year. And it's the biggest reasons that they have 2 of their 3 losses this year. It's like, I just don't understand. Like, all you have to do is rebound. That's it. You play the defense. You force the
I know.
miss.
You did the hard part.
You did everything right. Like, if there's 2 of you around a basketball, an Atlanta Hawk should not be the one that's coming away with that offensive rebound in the final minute of a game. And it's your 2 best players. It's like, you can't blame anybody other than your best guys. That's what makes it so annoying.
Yeah. And like, so we're 16th in defense, 15th in defensive rebounding on the season, which is very bad for the Celtics. Even last year, I think they were like 5th or 6th. They've been pretty good generally. So obviously there's no Porzingis. Al is, I noticed you didn't mention Al, and I think that's correct because we don't hold Al to a regular season playoffs.
I'm not
asking
a 38-year-old to be, a 27-year-old when it comes to rebounding. Whatever I get from Al Horford is a bonus, right? Like this, yes, in theory, a 6'10" guy, like it'd be great if he helped out, but at the same time, he just backpacked you on the way to a title. Like he deserves to just, coast throughout the regular season. I'm looking at the guards, the wings, Kata, Cornette. Like, you should not be having this type of rebounding issues, even without Porzingis, because let's not pretend like Porzingis played every single game the first half of last year. So it's like, for me, it's an effort and execution and a mental focus thing. And they coasted, and it finally bit them in the ass in terms of a loss, as opposed to, damn, we actually had to fight to the end and then we just locked in. Well, now, even when you locked in, you didn't make enough plays when it mattered.
It is really hard to lock in on those sorts of things in the very, very end. They've gotten away with it at times, but it was almost worse that they didn't go down big at some point, because I feel like because they were up, they
never had to flip like that intensity.
At no point did they, like in the Bucks game, they really tightened the screws. In the Nets game, they really tightened the screws. It was just like they couldn't hit a shot. They didn't really have to do it because they were up the entire game. You shouldn't need to go down 10. You shouldn't need to go down 15 in order to flip that switch. But, and I always say, like, hopefully they can learn the lesson without actually having to learn the lesson. Learn the lesson while still stealing the win. I was like, they probably need to actually learn the lesson.
I mean, they obviously didn't, right? I mean, they
exactly.
This is the same type of shit we've seen since the Warriors lost. And I think at that time it was like, hey, you were down 2 starters, you hung to the end, like late game defensive rebounding. Like, this is a moral victory. You can learn from this loss.
Yeah.
Well, then they backed it up with like 2 horrific starts, back-to-back games, same sort of issues, but you won. So you think like, okay, like, they know they can't play like that, but at least they won. Well, now here you are, and it's like, yes, it's an early, like, I don't think anyone is overly freaking out. It's just annoying that they know this is not how they can play. And it's like, it's nothing schematic-wise, it's nothing talent-wise. Like, this is just late game execution has not been good enough, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, and I think coming into the season, I did expect this was a version of, especially early, because like just mentally to come off the high of winning the title and even the high of opening night. Like, they were ready to go on opening night, and they blow the Knicks out. It was like one of the greatest days of my life.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It was beautiful. But it does feel like they kind of traded a bit of that focus, a bit of that energy for this part of the season. Like, they just, as you said, haven't played many complete games outside of that Knicks game.
Like a full 48 where it was
the Warriors game was good. I think that was just like a straight up, the Warriors beat you and you miss Jalen and you miss KP. But other than that, like, and I wonder if that's part of it. It's like this schedule. Yeah, there was no Trae Young tonight. Did they fall into the trap? And I pushed back on some people that were like, the Celtics are this is a trap game. And I'm like, no. Last year's team, sure, there was a couple, but like, that's just 82 games. But there's been some signs early. Obviously, the 9-3. Tonight's definitely the worst one. We'll see if it's a trend, but the schedule's been like very boring if you're a superstar. Wizards, Pistons, Nets.
Not like, and even like the Bucks game, you get up for it. It's like they're not really the Bucks of old. So it's like even the teams that were supposed to be your challengers, I guess, but you know what? That's something that was what was so impressive last year was It didn't matter what team they played or when the game happened. They were just a machine. They were a consistent, they were 30-3 against teams under 500. They were 30-1 at home, against these teams. Now you've already lost 2 games at home, and you didn't do that. It took you like 6 months of the season to lose your second game at home. So I just think, it's something that because they've done it and reached the mountaintop, they've now earned the benefit of the doubt, right? Before, when we would go through these, it would be like, oh my God, are these the things that are going to prevent them from getting over the hump? Like, we answered that question. So now it's more just like, stop fucking around. It's like, stop trolling me. It's like, I know that
you can do.
So like, just don't do this, and you're going to win a lot more games.
Well, this is an interesting point, which I've also talked about. So on one hand, I obviously want them to lock in and win more games and not drop these ones. On the other hand, I do want them to coast to some extent. I do want Horford to coast to some extent. Drew, especially. Mm-hmm. The thing is, it's like, it's almost like, should Tatum just have taken the night off? Would it have been better to just give those minutes? He already
said he's going to play tomorrow night. I'm like, just cut this guy's foot off. So
dude. Because It's my dad always says that it's like Tatum will play all of these games, but he kind of takes the night off at the same time. And like he had one rebound in the second half, and was it the ankle? I know that happened later. So
I think people are using that as an excuse. You can always tell when Tatum is engaged by his rebounding numbers.
Exactly.
That's the first thing if you look at all of their big games or these big wins,
yes,
he's 9, 10, 11 rebounds, and that's true regular season and playoffs. So if he is nursing the ankle, like, what do? You can't keep him off the court.
Apparently
but it's almost like it does more harm than good if he, is going to give you one rebound when defensive rebounding is the biggest issue you have in that game. It's just, you take it on the chin, and you just have to understand that, it is a long season, but at the same time, what made them special was the fact that, like, you didn't really have to worry about execution. And I think for me, that's my biggest takeaway isn't, oh my God, the sky is falling. And I don't even mind. I almost like the change of pace of having competitive games. Like, yes, very fun to win by 30 in the first quarter and coast. But I do think there's value in getting competitive reps regardless of who it comes against. So for me, my issue is, okay, you're not building these 20-point leads in the first 5 minutes of every game. You're in these dogfights. Execution is so important. Where is it? Offensively, it wasn't there against Golden State. Defensively, it hasn't been. I wish I had a second Spectrum login because I would love to see the blow-by rate. We all talked about the blow-by rate of the Mavs defense in the final. I bet you the Celtics blow-by rate for their perimeter defense is among the worst in the league to begin the season. Yeah. And that's what's leading to the horrific rim pressure numbers. It's like, if you don't have KP and you don't have that rim protection, and we're not going to ask Al Horford to beat Dikembe Mutombo, then your perimeter defense needs to provide resistance, and they are not stopping the ball.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I'm not sure if they're going to be last, but it's just very stark, and it's hard to wrap your head around as a human when you go from watching what they did in the playoffs against Kyrie and Luka, when literally those two guys couldn't get past any of our players.
Right. And you got LaMelo living in the paint. You got
Dyson Daniels
in the paint down there. Dyson Daniels had 28 living in the paint. It's like, I understand. It's like your perimeter defenders were all healthy and playing in this game. So it's like at some point you have to just play 48 minutes of defense. Like that is the requirement if you want to be the caliber of team that we know that they are. Is, it's not, we'll give you 2.5 quarters, or it's not, we'll give you 6 minutes at the end of the game. It's a full 48 of effort and execution, and they most certainly did not have that today.
I do want to just, zoom out a little bit. You did say it there, like, you're not worried necessarily long-term. I do, like, as you said, like, 1, they're 9-3. 2, they have earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
They've been, like, honestly, if we want to flip it positive, Jaylen Brown looking the way that he did in stretches in the Bucks game, but how he looked tonight is probably infinitely more important than the win or the loss. I mean, it is an NBA Cup game, which I'm very locked into. But if you're going to lose an NBA Cup game, make it the first one and make it by 1 point. Point differential, still nice and tight.
Well, that's my question. Were there any teams that made it into the next round having lost the game, or did everybody go undefeated?
So the wild card team will have to be a team that has lost at least one game. Okay. And there is room technically for a 2-2 team to get in as well. It just depends on everything else. Like,
if you're going to lose, then lose by. If it's okay to lose a game, you want to lose it by a point.
Exactly. It's probably going to come down to the Cavs game, which I think that's exciting. So obviously we've got the Nets game tomorrow. No Horford.
Now let me ask you this: Are you more excited about that game because of the NBA Cup implications, or just that's my problem? Is like I like the idea of the NBA Cup. I'm for it. I think it's a cool idea, but like I care more about the games because of what it means for the journey of 82, as opposed if they beat the Cavs in the NBA Cup, but
It will be 85%. I'll be 85% or 90% stoked because it's the Cavs and
like in the season and the bigger
and then
right.
it'll be like a little, and then there'll be a little cherry on top because that's catapulted. Like today, though, that's why I think it's good for those marquee matchups. Like the top two teams in each group, they're gonna have juice regardless. Like Mavs and Warriors playing right now, but like I was pumped for tonight. I lost all four of my bets that I leant into because I thought the Celtics were going to respect the NBA Cup. And they, in fact, did not respect the NBA Cup. I think those games are the ones where I'm more into it. And I've just been saying, like, once you get to the knockout stages, it's going to be more likely than not the better teams. One, that's good to get reps against better teams. Two, they're going to be like primetime standalone games. And you're going to be jealous your team's not playing. There's going to be, the talking heads being like, Cavs are here. Celtics are not. Do we need to? It's going to be annoying. So for that stuff, I care. And also, I'm a sucker, dude. Your marketing works so good.
I know, but I know I'm not exactly the target audience for it, right? Like I'm watching all these games.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not like more annoyed or more upset because they lost today because it was an NBA Cup loss. Like whatever. I cared more that it was the third loss in the regular season. Away from the NBA Cup. Like that doesn't even factor into my evaluation of it. And I think that's the hurdle is like,
yes,
as long as the Larry O'Brien trophy exists, how are you going to get me to care more about anything else than, working towards that goal?
I wonder, like, because we're obviously chasing a title, but the Pistons beat the Heat today, for example. Yeah. And like for a Pistons fan, for like Piston fans, it probably means something.
Oh, yeah.
Like this would be like for the Pacers last year. Obviously, they ended up making it to the conference finals as well. But like they clearly took it seriously. It was like, oh my god, this young team like getting these big games. I think maybe for those sorts of like the Lakers seems like are not serious that aren't competing for a championship. The Lakers can win, have a chance to win these fake banners. That, hopefully is not something that we have to reckon with until Jason Tatum is gone from this franchise in 12 years or 13 years. Yeah. Then
it's one of those things where, like, if the Isaiah Thomas Celtics existed during the IST,
oh my god,
it would be like awesome for them because of where you are in your rebuild and in your development. When
they would win it for sure. By the way,
100, yeah, I wish they were like built for something like this.
Yeah,
but for this group, it's like they should take it seriously. There is value in it, but it's like for me in terms of I'm not going to enjoy wins more because they're NBA Cup wins, and I'm not more mad on losses because I just want the Celtics to play well whenever they step on the court, regardless of what color the court is. Like, just play well, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, playing well equals happiness most of the time. The cup, I've got myself into it just because I'm like, whatever, I may as well, get into it.
But you may as well embrace it.
Yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. I think for a team like this, great chat from you, OU. Jake, mate, if you wore a Sideshow Bob type wig, you look like Dyson Daniels' cousin. Can I just say, fucking Dyson Daniels, dude? Like, where was this in the Olympics, bro? Like, where was this where was this shit when we were getting our teeth kicked in the group stages, man? He was like pretty solid, but like, are you kidding me? 28 points, 6 steals, like 7 assists. I love to, like, at least if I was going to go down, are we going to go down? It was at least an Aussie kind of.
I was going to say, like, that had to be a little bittersweet. It's like.
It was. I'll take the bitter. I'll take the sweet.
It's like when Patty Mills used to hit some bullshit against us. It's like, you can't be too mad. It's like.
At least it's Patty. Exactly. Yeah. So, like, I'll take a little bit of sweet in what was mostly a bitter experience. But yeah, so before I went on this in-season tournament NBA Cup tangent, Jaylen Brown, like, I saw you tweet, you're hilarious, man. Is this the Kevin Garnett injury all over again? I'm like, dude, let's just relax. He's 28 years old.
Listen, Ben will agree with me. If he was here, he would.
Absolutely.
Okay, like, I've been around enough to where, I've been told Isaiah Thomas's hip is no big deal. So it's just my own demon that I'll never be able to truly, fight off.
I will say I did not enjoy on the broadcast where they said that it will be it wasn't just like, he's back. It was good to get some rest, and he looks awesome, and that's going to be the end of it. It was like, it is something that he's going to have to be managing, and I'm like,
well,
not
to be, Debbie Downer, but were you watching the NBC Boston feed?
Yeah.
did you notice? I don't know if it was during free throws or a ball stoppage. There was like a moment where he kind of was like on the wing, like walking gingerly, and then he went on to have the plays that he did in terms of the shot making. So I don't doubt that it's going to be something that they monitor, which is why I have the same thought with him as I do with Tatum's ankle. Like, you have the roster to sustain buying them a game or two, and if it costs you a win here or there, like, big picture is more important at this point than, if they're not 100%, you have to be overly cautious.
And here's the good thing. The Eastern Conference has been garbage so far. Like, the 1 seed is going to be hard. I think the Cavs are going to push like 55 plus wins. Like, I think that they've got the continuity. Kenny Atkinson. Like, I've been watching every Cavs game the last few days because like, you're preying on their downfall.
I know. And the Bulls, like, everyone.
The Bulls, bastards.
It's like, can anybody close out a basketball game?
Dude, kidding me? Yeah, and like Kenny Atkinson, they went to like an all small ball lineup. They didn't have any of Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, or Allen last night. They extend a lead, so like they've got continuity, they've got talent, they got two, especially regular season wise. They got two-way, high floor. They're going to be tough to catch, I think, and they're a team that's going to be like locked in every night in the regular season because they're trying to prove stuff and trying to build towards their next step. Donovan Mitchell is signed now. No, like looking, making flirty eyes to the other teams. Like, they're all together now.
It feels familiar, doesn't it? Everyone's paid. Everyone's locked in. They're coming off a season of playoff underachievement. Everyone's healthy. They're playing a system that, plays to everybody's strengths. They're getting great bench help with Ty Jerome, and LeVert. So it's like, I really just, I don't know if it's people, like, if it's certain Celtics fans are like unwilling to admit that there's other good teams in the NBA or what, but like, they're checking every box that we checked last year in our start when we were trying to tell people, no, this isn't a fluke, it's not sustainable. So they have the look to me of a team that has an identity and enjoys playing with one another. And we saw last year, once a team unlocks that, you're talking mid-50s, and a top 3 seed. So, that's why games like this are so annoying, because I will always be on the side that home court is the most important thing you can have in a playoff run. And if they're going to be at this pace, if they're going to win at a 55, 56 win pace, then you cannot be dropping games at home to the Atlanta Hawks. As simple as that.
Yeah, exactly right. So, like, I think, it's going to be, you're going to have to be serious to catch these guys. Like 9-3 is fine. Like, that's obviously not like you're 3 games back, but 3 games back, if a team's going to win at a 55, 60 win pace, is a lot because they're not losing many games. Like, to TD in the chat here, like, tell me to stop.
Yeah, like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no reason. Like, everything they've shown you on the court says everything they're doing is sustainable. It's not like they're shooting an outrageous percentage from 3. It's not like, Darius Garland playing well isn't a surprise. He was an all-star 2 years ago. And then last year he had his jaw was wired shut. Yeah. Like, that's a year from hell. So I don't know. I think it's going to make their head-to-head games so important because tiebreakers
exactly.
and everything. And so NBA Cup or not, head-to-head matchups between those two teams will ultimately decide home court, I think.
Yeah, that game's going to have a ton of juice. We're going to have Tony Pesta from the Cavs side of things on the day before the game to preview, so make sure everyone's looking out for that. But, dude, you're right, man. Like, 12-0, it's hard to do. Like, their schedule hasn't been that easy. It's hard to win in the NBA. Look at what happened tonight.
Anyone who thumbs their nose up at 12-0 just is not a serious person.
Exactly, dude.
They have a 12.0, a plus 12.0 scoring differential, and they're 12-0 with half of their wins on the road. It's pretty good. Like, if the Celtics were doing that, we'd be like, hey, the Celtics are
pretty fucking good. Two of their 4 best players are under 25 years old. Like, it would not be Garland, as he said, like, had the year from hell. Mobley, when we get to the playoffs, matchups, and you're really locking in defensively, I still... we're getting too far ahead of ourselves, but 2 big men that can't shoot, 2 guards that are smaller. I think, I still picked it, but like.
This isn't even that uncommon, right? Since Donovan Mitchell came to Cleveland, they've had a couple of streaks where they've ripped off 6, 7, 8 wins.
17-1 last year.
Yeah, like this.
In a stretch.
they usually win in bunches, and then they're going to have a stretch where they lose like 5 of 7. And like that's usually how their season goes. But if they stay healthy, why shouldn't they be like for all the hype that the Bucks and the Knicks and the Sixers got? Why can't the Cavs be the one that actually plays up to that standard?
It's funny that you said like that you can't have those swoons. And like we were talking about this in the Discord, like the Celtics didn't rip off a 15 or 20 game winning streak last year. What has made this team, even going back to honestly like the 2022 finals, like contextualizing how good they've been relatively, the stamp of this team has been like not having losing streaks. They didn't have a single time last year where they lost 3 games in a row. Yep. That's how they kind of built their 64 wins. It was like, at no point.
A 4 out of 5 deal, right?
Exactly.
Like they lost today. It would not surprise me if they just won their next. That's what it is. It's they lose
4 out of 5.
They win 3, 4 in a row. It's like, that they may not have had I think they had 2 10 games last year, but that was unusual. But usually it's like you're not going to have a 13, 14, 15 streak, but you'll have 4 separate 5-game streaks or 2 separate 8-game streaks. So, for me, I prefer, sustainability and consistent winning as opposed to loading up and then losing 5. Like, I can't remember the last time the Celtics lost like 5 of 8 or something crazy like that. So that's
21-22 season before they turned it around, probably.
Yeah. So it's like, that's why it's a little weird that like, they only won 2 in a row in between their losses this time. Yeah. So you're like, hey, what the hell's going on? But 2 of those losses were by a combined 4 points. So it's like, what are we really talking about?
Yeah, we'll see. Like, we're obviously going to monitor it and see if there's a trend like this malaise. We will see. I know these guys don't like losing. I know watching Tatum's post-game press conference here, he was not happy. I know I think the reason he says he wants to play tomorrow is because he is pissed off right now. We'll see how the ankle action.
The Nets are going to come back. They won't be intimidated.
They're good.
And I think what's really been evident is, the Heat were the first to do it in the pre-title era. But ever since that Golden State game, the book is out. You put ball pressure on this team, you get in their space. They have to prove that this version of the Celtics, without Porzingis as that safety valve, that they can survive that. Because it is no coincidence that they played that Warriors game on national TV. Everyone saw the formula, and every one of their opponents since that game has defended them the exact same way. Look at how handsy people are being with Tatum and Brown at the top. Look at, when Drew's driving, when Derek's driving, people are on their hip. They're getting in their ball pressure with Peyton Pritchard as soon as he crosses half court. Like, that's the book on how to beat the Celtics right now is speed them up, send them doubles, be physical with them on the perimeter, and hope that they, have a cold shooting night. That's the formula.
I will say that is that like the formula to beat most teams, though? It's like essentially it's what we kind of talked about coming into the season. It's like target on your back. Teams want to beat the Celtics. Yeah. You crank up the pressure. You crank up the ball pressure. You try and make them uncomfortable. And most nights teams aren't doing that. Like you watch League Pass every night. Right. Most teams aren't doing that, but it's the Celtics. And this is what comes with being one of the best teams, even before the title, but especially with the title. Teams want to beat you, and I know they can handle the ball pressure. I know they can. It's just they don't want they don't want to right now.
Right, and like perfect example is that right. Like Tatum has probably seen 50,000 blitz screens and blitz doubles in his life, yet he couldn't figure it out for some reason against the Warriors, which was bizarre.
Well, Jalen was part of that, but yeah, but still.
That's what I'm saying. No, but like even tonight with Jalen, right? Dyson Daniels has 5 steals. He's been a pest all night. Why are you lazy with the ball around him in the fourth quarter when he's in your space, right? Like that's the time you have to protect the ball. So it's like these things that we know that they know how to play and how to operate in those moments. When they don't do it, you're just like, come on, like this is just annoying because I've seen you do it, on the highest and biggest of stages to win a title. I saw you execute in the clutch and in big moments. Like I need you to be able to do that against, Jalen Johnson. Like, come on, you need to be able to execute.
Man, I kind of like the Hawks, Trae Young, Ewing theory. I don't know this version of them because that's the thing. They switched everything, and it's like with no Trae Young out there, you had to at least kind of be ready for it. And I think that was part of it. It didn't feel like until late into the game that Jalen and Jason had those 2 drives later. It was like, do you not realize that they're switching everything? And then when they are, you need to be very decisive and go downhill and finish at the rim or force it. It's exactly like the Mavs series. And I think that's going back to regular season playoffs and malaise after the title. Like, the version of Tatum couldn't buy a bucket in the finals, but he went downhill over and over and over on every single defender they threw at them. You're telling me he can't go past Ricochet or Jalen Johnson or whatever? It's definitely, I don't want to use the ankle thing because I don't think that was it at all. I just think that there's a mentality thing to that, and I'm not necessarily even that mad at it because I get it, and I don't need Tatum driving to the rim 13 times a game in the regular season. It was just like a little too, the lackadaisicalness went a little too far over this past week, and it caught up with them today.
I just think what we have to make sure we do for our own mental health is just don't take the bait, right? You're going to hear, the Celtics aren't the same team last year. It's like, it's all bullshit. You know what I mean? They're going to lose games. They're going to win games. The fact of the matter is, they got to the top of the mountain. They answered those questions. So my advice would to be, don't let the rage bait get the best of you. I'm saying this to somebody who I know, like myself, will also let the rage bait get to them. But for the normal people out there, just know that it's coming and know that you reach the top of the mountain and it's all just hot air.
I think that we can, on the Hawks game, that's probably enough. I do have one thing that happened today. I'm not sure if you saw this, but the Miami Heat lost in overtime to the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
And the Heat were up like 4 with like a minute to go. Yep. And then they ended up losing in part because of this right here. I've got the clip here.
With his man, and that allows Duran to catch and finish. And Spo, even a veteran coach like Spo, in his 17th season, lost track of how many timeouts he had, called the timeout. The officials immediately hit him with a technical since the Heat have no more timeouts. And that's what triggers the free throws right there to help them.
Unbelievable.
So good. So they were up. The Heat were up 100.
1.8.
Yeah, they were up 3 with a minute to go in overtime. Malik Beasley hit a 3, and then they go up 2 with 2 seconds left. That is brutal, man. And for
I love that out of bounds play. Doc Rivers used to do that play for KG all the time. That is such a beautiful out of bounds play. But to me, this says the days of the dark magic are over. Never in a million years would I ever. And so I blogged this when it happened, and I'm almost wondering, did an assistant have the wrong count of timeouts left?
No, Spo talked about it in the postgame. He said we talked about not having a timeout.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, maybe I was like, that guy's probably, terrified for his life.
Yeah.
So, oh man, that you almost never. I think that's might
crazy.
Be the most rare sequence of events of, he's largely considered the best coach in the NBA, right? For him to have a Chris Webber moment with Jalen Rose in the stands,
in the building,
that's poetic.
Yeah,
couldn't happen to a nicer franchise.
I know. You really hate to see it. If that's not a sign, if that's not an omen that things are coming to an end for the Miami Heat, I'm not sure what is. And they fall to 4-6 now. Obviously, they can still get back in it because the East is not good, but obviously a terrible start for them.
Sixers are what, 2-8?
I was going to say, I'm going there next. So Joel Embiid's return tonight. The Sixers fall to 2-8. Joel Embiid's return, 26.5 minutes, 2 for 11. Of course, he got to the line 8 for 8 times and 2 turnovers and a -7. Obviously, it was against the Knicks, so you see the Knicks get one there, but you still can revel in the joy of the Sixers losing. And
I would, but at the same time, the Celtics, it's hard for me to enjoy the misery of others.
It helps me.
When I close my eyes and I see, 5 offensive rebounds in the final minute, I just, 4 missed free throws and you lose by a point. It's shit like that just keeps me up at night.
Oh yeah. Look, 100 to 75 shots for the Hawks to the Celtics will be
So
a
crazy.
number that there's 2 or 3 numbers I'll remember now for the season. I'll remember Kyle Anderson making 3 threes, and the last time he'd made more than 1 3 in a game was March 27th, 2023. So that one hurt. And Larry Nance, I haven't actually gone and looked at it, but I can't imagine that he has hit 5 threes in a game maybe ever.
Today was he's played
of course.
529 games. This was the most he's ever made. And it's been 3 years since he made 4, which he did one time 3 years ago.
Awesome.
So, it makes total sense that he's making his corner 3 and Jason Tatum is missing that corner 3 with a minute. Like, that's just normal. That happens all the time. That's what I'm saying. Like, and don't forget, he lost against the Pacers because Siakam went 5 for 7 from 3, and he's shooting 22% on the season. It's like, what the fuck? It's like,
you can spin it good that you need cosmic things bad to happen to the Celtics, whether it's Larry Nance, Kyle Anderson, 20 offensive rebounds, 20 turnovers. Like, that is just an astronomical deficit on the margins in a way that you're usually pretty excellent. So,
I mean, look at it this way. The Celtics shot 50% from the floor, 60% from 3, made 6 threes in the fourth quarter, and lost it by 8 points.
That's good. That's good.
That like mathematically shouldn't happen.
It's impossible. All right. So I have a proposal for you. So I don't think that they'll do this. So no Horford tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
No, probably. So Tatum said he's going to play. Are they playing Jalen on back-to-backs with this hip thing? We'll find out. Are we kind of due for a hospital Celtics game? Should we just let Peyton Pritchard?
I would say, now that I saw Sam Hauser make a couple threes,
this could be the time.
Might be due for the hospital Celtics.
I think the vibes need it.
Restore order. It's like, let Peyton Pritchard say, guys, like, I need, because, he had a rough night tonight and he almost never has 2 bad games in a row.
Nope.
Well, you know what? Like, I think Tatum, like you said, he'll play, but he'll take it off. I wouldn't hate if they sat Jalen just because, again, hips, like back-to-backs, whatever, play. Give Peyton Pritchard 30 shots and live with the results.
I think that's what we need. We need a little vibe restoration. It doesn't matter if we lose, despite obviously losing is bad. But like you sit these guys, no Horford, give that big toe some rest. Baylor Scheinman, 2 big games for the main Celtics. Is it Baylor Scheinman?
I don't know what to believe with him anymore.
It's been terrible, but he's been fantastic immediately. So
we saw him in Vegas. He couldn't hit a jumper. It wasn't like, holy shit, this is the guy. And then preseason was and then he got on the in blowouts and he couldn't even make a layup.
It's been bad so far.
And he's got a magnet ball. So was it nerves? Was it I want to believe in it because it's now that he saw some open threes go in for him, it reminded him that he's a lifetime 40% 3-point shooter. So if this could be a time for him, great. But at the same time, you couldn't just pay the $11 million for Lonnie Walker and just bite the bullet. I don't know.
Would have been nice. Look, it's better that Baylor Scheinman has looked good in the G League than also terrible. So that is good.
Actually, I saw a tweet today. Did you know J.D. Davison is about to become their all-time leading scorer? Yeah. He's been in Maine for 7 years.
I love it.
It's crazy.
Stay there, man. He's doing a great job. He comes in the preseason. He can run some pick and roll for us.
But there's not one team in the NBA that needs an athletic 6'3" guard that can't get him on an NBA roster. I just find
there are so many guards, and I think this is the Lonnie Walker, Markelle Fultz, Tyus Jones. Even I played fantasy basketball for the first time this year, and I was like, oh, look at all these guards that are still left over. It's just there's just so many pretty capable guards. I think that's the problem. Whereas really to be very good, you want the Dyson Daniels, the Richeches, obviously the Jays. So I wonder if that's part of it. But
he's like a lifer. It's crazy.
It is wild. I think this is the last year he can be on a 2-way. So,
it's I feel like they drafted him 8. I feel like he was drafted before Jaylen Brown. He's been on that team for so long.
Yeah, I'll never forget Spoonie's 20-minute film breakdown of JD Davison's 2 first summer league games. They were electric.
I mean, he shows flashes, and yet
He does.
he's just destined to be a main legend. I don't know.
Yeah, can't shoot in the NBA. Who knows? Maybe this is going to be the year. Turns it around.
I mean, at least it's not like Jan Madar and just doesn't even exist in reality. So it's like, could be worse.
Yeah, and my guy, Yuhon Begarong.
Yeah, he's not even a real person. Like, that guy doesn't exist.
This is a great question. I have one question for you, Jake. Why do I show up at work? Because you must. You don't elect when to put an effort in. They pay you to show up, right? I don't know, man. Have you ever not given your best at work before?
Like 99% of
Yeah. Like, I don't know, man.
Close your computer at 3:00 on a Friday.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, like people that are working from home right now. Like I have to teach swimming tomorrow. I kind of have to be focused, otherwise someone might die and I'd be in the news. Like that would be awful. But like white collar jobs, people are going to work. Like all the fake jobs out there. No one's working hard. Come on.
There's fake spreadsheets for March Madness for a reason.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
people pull up on their computer. Like, granted, we're not getting 45 million a year or whatever, but
Sure.
It's understandable.
It's understandable. Greeny, it's been a pleasure. I'm sure we'll see you again very soon. Everybody in the chat, the Celtics will win again soon, and everything
Deep breaths.
will feel okay.
Well, they
again, I
won't win if
promise.
they don't get a defensive rebound in the final 2 minutes of a game.
This is true. They should start to become not last in defensive rebounding over the last one game of the NBA. Until next time, go Celtics.
Go Celtics.